Hey guys, it's Mark back here again with you. So in this video, I want to show you how to build an entire scale or the entire scale from purely physical principles. So it's going to be a pretty hands-on guitar using the harmonics on the guitar in the Overtone series to show you, number one, why blues and the sound of dominant chords is very fundamental to the physical reality. Well, it's sort of my thesis on it, at least. Number two, I'll show you how to avoid chords that may sound muddy when they're too low on the guitar. I'll show you the recipe to do that well. And three, we'll see why minor triads are sad, quote unquote. And bonus points, if you want to stay until the end, we'll have a quick discussion about tone. You know, we talk about pedals and amps and processing of the sound. So we'll see how overtones and the whole harmonic series plays a role in giving you that perfect jazz tone. So let's get going. Welcome to Jazz Guitar Lessons, where we help guitarists learn jazz faster, express themselves more fluently, and have fun along the way. My name is Mark, and if you're looking to learn jazz, form better practice habits, and especially if you enjoy a French accent, make sure to subscribe. Okay, first off, kudos, so credit where credit is due. I'm using a book that I bought probably 15 or 20 years ago by Gordon Delamont. On screen here, Gordon is a fellow Canadian, is of course passed away by now, was, if I'm not mistaken, University of Toronto professor. His name is Delamont, D-E-L-A-M-O-N-T, and this one's called Modern Harmonic Technique, Volume 1. I love when you have two volumes of Volume 1. Is that sarcasm? This is hard enough already. And I do have Volume 2. He wrote books about counterpoint, about melodies, and when I first opened the book, that's actually page 1, it's called Scales. When I saw the author start to build scales around the principles of using fifths, I'm like, okay, we're starting with fifths and we're building in fifths on top of one another, pretty much like in my previous video on pentatonic scales, but saying we can get the 12 tones by building fifths on top of fifths. I'm like, okay, we're up against something a bit different because he's looking at it for the value of the Overtone series. Further in the book, so around page 25, when there's the discussion about intervals, he goes into the building of the harmonic series. So this is where I'll show you why I think the blues scales and the blues stuff is more fundamental in the way it's built from the ground up, from the earth, essentially. So I have my Godin, and let's look at the bottom string. This is not a mistake. In this video, I have a C note, which I'm going to tune down on the bottom string. Make sure I'm in tune. So if I strum a C, or if you play the C major scale, we're aligned with that big string. So what I'm going to do is talk about what's in the title. So harmonics and overtones. What's that? So when you hit a string, and you've probably done that as a guitarist, just experiment with, say, putting your finger on top of the 12th fret and just striking it, but then removing the finger. That sound is called a harmonic, of course. And we have like natural harmonic and pinch harmonics and this and that. So it's a natural phenomenon that occurs when we look at a string and we split it in two. If I have scientists watching, so bear with me, I'm going to skim over a lot of the details. But mind you, this stuff occurs when we look at a piece of string and we make it ring. Pythagoras had done that, of course. And the same process will apply if we have a musical tone coming out of a tube. So say a flute, and if you have a different length of tube, the same physical phenomenon occurs. It's a wave, it's a frequency, right? So my frequency here is a C. And if I go to the 12th fret and I go finger on top, I'll get another C. So it does mean that in what we have, I'll just show you page 25 quickly, and that's looks like a lot of gibberish, is that we can build overtones on what's their order of appearance in the physical reality. So the first overtone is C. So it's the fundamental. The second one is C. I'm just going to tell you, doubles and halves will be the same pitch. So C is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, etc. Right? Now if I keep going, I go 1, 2, and I go 3. Anyone care to guess what this note is? It is a G. I go G. And also, by the way, if you want to get a better tone on using harmonics, I recommend using the bridge pickup. They will sparkle. They will sound. It's a much drier sound. It's more sparkly, but it will outline your harmonics. So 1, 2, 3. I have a G, and 4. I have a C again. So far what we've done, and I'll do it visually here, we have a C, we've doubled it with another C, number 2. Number 3 is a G note, number 4 is a C note again. Anyone care to guess what's going to happen with the 5th harmonic? We're going to have a major triad. So we're gonna have a C major. All right, check this out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. What's that note? C, D, E. So right off the bat, if we look at a piece of string and we split it in the ratios, which I'm not going to get into right now, but we're going to get it within the first 5 notes, we're going to get this major triad, which is why it's the prettiest, most happy, beautiful sitting sound in modern harmony, right? It's a major triad. Now what's going to happen when I add my 6th one? So I told you guys that 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, all doubles are the same. So my 6th one is the same as 3. Remember what 3 was? It was a G note. So we have a G again. So I'm going to put this to the test. Grab your guitar and follow along with me and double check my answers. I go C is 1, C is 2, 3 is G, 4 is C, 5 is E. No, that's another E. Sorry, another G. No, that's another G. And then 7. Pick up your guitar, found that what that note is. The 7th overtone, or the 7th harmonic, when I keep subdividing my string like this, is a B flat. It's a darn B flat, guys. So that's the... Sorry, I get really excited about this. I'm like, look, it's a C chord. It's our blues chord. So after, and no surprise with the number 8, it's the same as 1, as 4 and 2, and doubles and halves, right? So within 7 tones that I subdivide on my good old C string, and again, I get another C. So within the first 8 harmonics, I get a dominant chord. I get a good old C7. I don't get a C major 7. I don't get a C minor. I don't get a C diminished. I get a C7, a C dominant 7 in the classical nomenclature. We don't get the B natural until like the 15th overtone. I'll get into the discussion why it matters, because it's the way we hear notes, the way we hear harmonies also, and there's a subtraction of frequencies, pretty much as in when you mix color that are light colors, right? So that's, to me, really fascinating. So if I were to continue, I'm not going to do it with the string, but we could put them on the screen so you clearly see. 1, 2, 4, 8, and 16 are C notes. 3, 6, and 12 are G notes. The 5th, the 5, okay? 5, 10, and 20 are the E notes. Again, equal temperament does not work. If I have physicists watching, you're going to know, but actually, I know, but we're not going to get into the detail of this just now. Then we go to the, of course, 3, 6, and 12, we've already covered. We're going to look at the 7th as being the B flat. The 9th is the D natural. And the 10th we covered. The 11th is an F sharp. Gotta be kidding me, man. Yeah, so I go C7. Sorry, change the tone here. 7. Then my 13th interval, so 12 we covered. My 13th interval is the A note. And 14 is the same as 7, so B flat again. And then 15 I get a B natural, and 16 I get another C. So I get, if you will, I get the C dominant 7 scale. I get an F sharp. Within the first 16 overtones of the series, I get a dominant bebop scale with an F sharp. The F sharp is the blue note. Right? It can't get any more raunchy than this. So my point is that the harmonic series has more to do with the sound that was brought up by, I don't know, all the jazz players, all the New Orleans guys, Hendrix and B.B. King, more so than, say, Mozart and J.S. Bach, which is my thesis on this, which is why blues is such a fundamental part even of pop music, because we hear it, because it's very grounded, it's very close to the fundamental of the harmonic series. And point being, the further and further we get, and I'll get to this in my next points, the further we get from the harmonic series, the harder it is to hear these things. A perfect instrument to demonstrate this on would be a grand piano, which I don't have in the studio, but if you have a grand piano or a friend that knows these things, you can ring a note and press the pedal and realize that the other notes, as part of the Overtone series, will start vibrating in, they call it in sympathetic vibrations. So that's the point. Okay, one of the main things we'll have later is why we stack all of these notes and why they matter, and that's going to be in our discussion about tone, which is our bonus at the end of the video. Hey guys, just a quick note: if you're enjoying this content and you're eager to boost your own jazz guitar playing, then connect with us. We've transformed the jazz skills of thousands of guitarists. You can find the link in the description or head directly over to jazzguitarlessons.net to begin your journey. All right, let's dive back into the episode. So first off, I think we've uncovered that dominant 7, blue note, is really funky, and it's not like dirty or a thing we shouldn't be doing as far as classical harmonies. It's actually down to earth. Very good. Number 2, I will show you how to avoid chords sounding muddy, because you guys might have learned your drop 2s and go like, oh yeah, I can do these different things, and then let me do them on the next set of string, right? And then maybe now my C string is tuned down, but you'll get to a point where you want to do these voicings very low on the fretboard and go, man, it sounds like mud. Here's the quick distinction, I'll make it out. Don't want to spend too much time on this. When we have two notes together, so that's the chapter in Gordon's book, which is called Intervals, which is the second chapter, he just shows the harmonic series. Like, it's just like one staff. I go, oh, I could study this thing for 6 months. Go, why is the F sharp there? Like, why does this occur? It's sort of a natural phenomenon. When we have two notes together, it's called an interval. So if I play a C note followed by another C note, namely I'll go, or maybe I'll go even higher if I go, somewhere over the rainbow. I know. There's so many tunes that start with octaves as well, like If I Should Lose You, and a lot of really good tunes starts with an octave. But the thing is, in our ears, there's going to be a subtraction of frequency such that we hear, is that one or that one? I forget. But there's a ratio that makes us hear the other tone that's a fundamental. So with an octave, it's easy. But when I do, say, a fifth, I do these two notes. If I do C, G, our ears implicitly hear this one. So there's a subtraction of frequency, and the weirder the interval, the higher it is on the Overtone series overall, the further the acoustical root, the implied acoustical root is, all right? So I'm not going to get into how does it happen when I combine 2 or 3 notes to get a triad, etc. But for sure, when I hear C, E, and G, there's a natural physics phenomenon that makes us hear that other note that would be the implied root. And it's the same process if I only have 2 notes. Like if I have the E and the, say the C and the E, which is a major third, there's going to be another one and another one. The more notes I stack up, the more it subtract. And the more these intervals are close by on the harmonic series, because they get closer and closer and closer as we go. Like you've noticed when we took up our string, these intervals get smaller and smaller, the further we have to go to get to the root. So the short answer is, when I have a chord that has a subtraction of frequencies that's lower than a certain pitch, we don't hear it anymore. Go to a piano, any piano, and play a C major triad, C, E, G, versus a C, E flat, G, a minor triad, and do it very low, and eventually you go, I can't distinguish. You know how a dog will hear a whistle like super high with the little whistle tool?
Doesn't even work. What the hell?
Or cats hear higher pitches. Like for us, that note, that is the limit, is the A, that I forgot the frequency, but it's the lowest note on a traditional grand piano, right? So that A is our hearing limit. So it means that if I play an interval above that A, and it subtract lower than that A, we will hear it as mud, or it's going to be undefined. It's fine to dip in and to get back in, but if most of your tune or your chords, your music is based there, we don't hear it. We don't hear the qualities. We don't. It's almost like we have musical myopia when it comes to these tones that are too low. We can't distinguish between the half steps. It's just a phenomenon. Also, the more convoluted or the more smaller intervals we have, the further it takes us. That's why I said, we need to wait until the 15th overtone before we get the B natural, the 7th of the scale. We have a B flat as the 7th. So the B, like to hear, say the note C to B, for instance, this guy. there's a certain crunch to it, and we would need a C that's actually an octave lower than this to get it. So if I do a 7th interval or 7th interval, like this one is still clear. This one's still clear, but check this out. I played C to B. Something's happening, right? So it gets muddy. So that's the trick on how to not get your chords muddy. All right, long convoluted video. I'm sorry I get really passionate about this. So the Overtone series gives us a dominant 7 chord really early on. Number 2, we can avoid having chords that are undefined when we're too low by moving up the register or figuring out which notes we want. The good old basics like octaves and fifths tolerate getting really low in the register and we still hear them, but the fancier the intervals, the higher we have to go to maintain them clearly. Now, why are minor triads sad? And then we'll talk about tone. So and again, if I have physicists in the room, just bear with me. When I sound a major triad, I have C, E, and G, there is a phenomenon that dictates what the acoustical root is. And regardless, I can play C, E, G, and have the C, and it's clean. I could even have... And the acoustical root is dictated by the subtraction of frequencies. If I do a minor triad, like this, people say, it's sad, right? Or I have a song in minor, it's a sad song. Or one of the reasons that happens, and if you were to write it on paper with the ratios of intervals and such, we realize that there is a component of, I don't want to say distortion because like distortion overdrive pedal, but there's an ambiguity as far as which of the notes is actually the root. So the root could either be, it could be a C with 66% certainty, or it could be an A flat. It's an A flat note, and that's a physical phenomenon. And what we hear culturally, we've been used to saying, "Oh, it's sad," it's a sad tune. But what's actually occurring is that because there's an ambiguity as far as which note is the acoustical root, it's like, 66% this one, 33% this one, or 66.66% this one, or 33.3, right? 1/3, 2/3. That vagueness leaves us that feeling, that emotional quality of, it's sort of weird. And diminished chords are even worse because they have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. If I play we could have this one as the root, we could have this one as the root, or this one as the root. So because it's so unstable, we don't know what it is. That vagueness feeling we translate it into I don't know, it's weird, it's tense, it wants to go somewhere, versus this is pure resolve, while the C diminished has pure ambiguity, because any of its root notes, any of the notes could have been the root, acoustically, mind you. All right, so that's the reason we have the sadness of the minor triads, not because they're sad, it's because in effect, the vagueness is translated in this uncertainty, and our ears sort of pick it up, and because it could go both ways, we interpret it as sad, culturally at least. All right, quick discussion about tone. So if you're here and you've watched my entire rambling on the harmonic series, I'll tell you why we think of the holy grail of jazz guitar tone in a certain way, and I'll tell you why notes and chords are actually fractals of everything. So here's the main takeaway. Whenever we have a tone, such as if I'm playing that C note, whenever it's sounded, the pitch contains all of the other overtones, okay? So it does mean that you hear the note itself, and then you hear the first harmonic as a root, the second, the third, the fifth, or whatever, and they're all there, so it's fractal in that this note contains all of the other notes. What differs is the blend at which these things will occur, almost like it's the note's DNA. And when I say the note, I don't mean the pitch, I really mean that sound. And the word in French we use is timbre, T-I-M-B-R-E, timbre. So the timbre is the difference between me singing that note and the guitar singing that note, or I hear a trumpet playing a C note or a clarinet. I'll be able to distinguish between the tone of these different instruments by the timbre, by the blend of overtones. So if I get a really pure synthesizer, it has 0 of the other overtones and it just gets that one note, or maybe 2, like it's going to get the C and the C, and that's it. It's pure. But all other instruments have timbre. That's how we're able to recognize voice. You know how you can have voice authentications, like the computers are able to hear a pitch and go like, yeah, it's Mark speaking, because we have this blend and it's totally unique. It's like a fingerprint. So each instrument's got this fingerprint. What does it mean for guitarists? Well, you have to think that whenever you are seeking for tone, you're seeking for that blend of overtone and that DNA of the sound. If you want to use a pedal, you want to process that sound to change its DNA, all right? Like a compressor, right? It would do something to the tail end of the note or the attack of the note. If I use a delay, it's just going to extend the time. That's not really changing the timbre. But one thing of note for guitars, we're looking for the perfect amp, either that is completely transparent or that has certain traits of personality. It will emphasize certain of these overtones while we play. So I'll go on a limb here, and for anyone still watching, because it's a pretty long video, I tend to prefer using good old guitar strings, like the nickel strings. And here's why. They have all that sparkliness that's already included. Any note I play contains all these overtones, and my game is to roll off the tone knob so that I will be as if I'm speaking with my hands in front of my face a little bit, right? It will mute a bit of these other sparkly things. Although sometimes if I play rock, I want to have all these overtones and that sparkle from every single note. Guys that are watching this, if you're in doubt, flat wound strings, chromes, are dead. Basically, that's the thing. They're already dead and they're closer to producing a pure tone without a lot of harmonics sprinkling out on top. The most neutral amps, the most transparent amps also don't have that. If you pick up an amp, like, I don't know, it sounded like it's a cheap amp, and I'm not sure it's because it's tweaking with that tone, with that DNA. That said, tone is in the fingers. Of course, you got to work on how you produce the sound and the attacks and everything. And if you get really, really used to a guitar, you'll be used to attacking the string in a way that brings up the overtones that you want to hear and the attacks that you want to hear. But that's all we're doing this. We're playing with the DNA of the sound itself, which gives its timbre. Also, when we attack chords, you may prefer certain voicing, you personally versus me, because the blend of overtones and these subtraction of frequencies give a certain acoustical root, and it sounds pleasing to your ears. And then we fall into it depends on how you were brought up. If you heard a lot of classical music, certain voicings will not fit for you, don't gel with you. While if you heard like me, like free jazz in my 20s, I'm like, oh yeah, I can tolerate different realms of things, or I'll find a certain aesthetic it's beautiful, but I find it's, say, too bland for my taste. So that's it for the discussion on tone. Basically, I wanted to bring to you this whole like fractal nature of it. So the best tones, any note contains all of the other ones. So that's fractal, but also our quest for tone means that we're looking for that blend. And unfortunately, unless we do it a computerized version, anyone has a link for that, please post in the description or in the comments. We can craft the perfect tone from a synthesizer by using these overtones, these fractals, as faders. And typically, as we go up in the overtone series, we have less and less and less and less. So it's maybe that I think someone with perfect pitch told me that clarinet has a really hard fifth overtone. That's what's giving it this woody flavor. And I think when I hear really, really good singer and they have that fifth overtone that's coming in really cleanly, it gives me shivers. I'm like, oh, cool. But maybe not. It may be not the same for anyone. So that's it. On that note, I will let you guys go. This has been a really off-tangent sort of jazz guitar, physics, blues / overtone harmonic series. Please pick up the Gordon Delamont book. They're not cheap. I don't know if they still have them on Amazon's. But this is a cursory understanding of how the harmonic series work, why it works, why blues is so fundamental, how intervals subtract from one another, what's the What's the name of the game when it comes to major versus minor triads versus augmented or diminished triads? What's the physics of it? I'll see you soon on the website, jazzguitarlessons.net, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Take care. Bye.